The kind of love you give to yourself is the love that you attract with others. The love that you want is usually the one that comes in to meet you where you are. Typically in this world, when you're not ready for it. Stick together. If you really love something, you don't give up on it, no matter how hard it is. And talk about your differences. Be honest about your own mistakes, and go to the core with every word being words for you, even the words you give to others also. You give them to yourself equally. Everything you've said to someone else about them is something you needed to see in yourself also. Like that, giving somebody advice is going to be a bit of a resistance for you because of them also. Reprimanding the self isn't easy to do if the others aren't willing to hear you, or if they hear you, sometimes are they really hearing you? And that just means talking about it. Because of course we're hearing each other, that's logical. Being heard is different. Being heard is something you do when you really care about someone. If you're the type of person who didn't care, it's likely that you did care for a long time and at some point crossed the wires and began to not care as hard as you did. That is dangerous unless you find your neutral zone where you are with yourself. And you can't help others until you've done that also. Helping yourself is the only one you've got. If you need help, that's the one you help. At your core, that's why it hurts when we talk to each other about our differences, because we all have them, and those need to be edified by you, the individual being. So if you have friends that are good with making you better, they better be getting better themselves also, or eventually you'll outgrow that. It happens every time. And that goes for both partners, or anyone involved, really. It's not that we outgrow each other because we want to, it's because if I'm being somewhat claustrophobic with my roots, I need space. And sometimes I need someone to uproot me, to put me in another place, life, to help make that possible. Growth as an absolute just is what it is. That's growth. It's just your progress. And that is only as good as the moment. Your moment to moment changes. Your progress can increase and decrease with time from moment to moment, depending on what happens with life. So sometimes we get put in a bigger pot. Sometimes we just get pulled eternally. With love, I hope that all of us have a happy ending when we're done. I'm certain most of us do. I wouldn't dare want to say that any of us who wanted it couldn't have it. Also, that's not my position to say. It is or is not. Like that, that's up to life. Life will guide us to the resting place. Either way it goes, I believe we rest when we're done. That's life. Like that, back to myself, the individual, everything I said is for me alone. My words are for me today. So if I didn't hear them correctly, that's because you heard them differently. And just because you heard it differently doesn't mean you are wrong. It means I haven't heard it that way, and I need to open up my heart space for my mind to receive information in a way that I hadn't yet received it, which means I have to consider that my point of view is not the only one that is right today. I did that a long time ago. I find myself habitually ruining that wisdom with my habits because I'm human, and emotions get in the way when they're not dealt with appropriately, which is why we talk about it. So like that, I'm talking now to tell you that my love for me is perfect. So I love myself perfectly because I love myself. That doesn't mean that I love myself so much that it's perfect in a way that makes everything better. I mean, it's perfect because it is. And because it is, it becomes perfect, and perfect is our goal. There is a perfect here. Being here isn't perfect to you yet, but there is a spirit that can clear that up for you, dear. And that's the one we hold. That's soul. It's a happy, beautiful, loving being. Equally, it can be very nasty. So we have to not be nasty and check ourselves at the door with each other, because that nasty comes from here, first of all. We have to clean it up first before we can be with others clear. If you're good at cleaning up your own home, you might be able to jump into another situation where others are also doing that. But if them doing that becomes you doing that most of all, then take care of yourself also. We all have to take care of ourselves when we're done. Because it's you giving your energy away to learn from what you've done. You give it away with love, always. Even when you're angry. Here's how you do that. Be grateful for what you learned. You know what I learned? When you're angry, you don't say anything. Even when you say what you're saying, you say nothing when you're angry. The moment you become angry, your words are impotent to me. They no longer help us with progress. The moment we stop getting angry, it's because we're finally starting to absorb the truth that's hard to swallow. That hard to swallow truth needs to come from someone that loves you. And that's how you know they do. So if someone loves you, they'll cheer you up, spit you out as many times as it takes for you to realize that's us we're chewing on when we do. And so if we understood life like that, then life is flavorful, at least for the moment. But eventually, like all things we chew, we stop chewing one day to do something different. If we're doing that now, I wouldn't know. And whatever that is when we get there, okay. Do I need to worry about that then, now? No. Do I worry about that then, today? No. Same thing. I said it 2 different ways for a reason. So if I'm not worried about now, that's because then doesn't hurt me, and then is something we don't have to worry about. No. If I don't say it the way you like, that's okay. Take what you need and make peace with the rest. I'm doing that also. I don't always like what I say. Sometimes I hear me say things and go, the fuck? Right, why'd you say that for? And see, that's me being salty with myself, and even that is an infraction. That right there is a roadblock. That is what gets in my way. But it's something I hear lots of us doing all the time, and it slows us down. We gotta stop right there, because that's the problem. If I can't deal with me at that level, because I'm hearing other things in me calling me out, not my voices. I know that first of all, my choices chose me. Me personally chose me as I am. I love me that way. That doesn't mean I'm perfect. That means I'm working towards perfection, and I see perfection in the outcome. I know that it takes time. Right now we are healing. What you need is love, to keep people close to you, to know what you're feeling, to know the difference, to get out there and give your love. Don't get hurt when people take it from you freely and don't give it back the way you thought they would. You still gave it to them freely. That was still your choice, and you still have to be okay with it. You getting angry means you hurt yourself, and that you have to take responsibility for that response when nature goes, okay, well, you failed. Now what? Until you get it right. Well, you get it right with yourself first. And you don't fail with others. So if you didn't give up on others, it's because you love them. And that's why we're having this conversation. I love having the conversations that help progress soul, heart, mind, and body. Those are the conversations I'm searching for. And I can have them with anybody. I can even have it with myself, by myself, or with my dogs. And when I'm not doing that, I'm satisfied. Because me, myself, is okay. I'm not worried about my death. I'm just worried about people that don't live life like it should be. And how do you do that? Well, stop dying. That's how you know you're not doing it right. And how do we die? Getting angry. Letting the world's ideas get the best of us. Letting your ideas get the best of you. Letting any opinion of yours get in the way. any of that, any idea, anything, doing that right now is killing you. That's death. So how do we hold what's killing us with love, compassion, understanding, plus love it also by giving your love, knowing that's what you did freely, and not blaming others for how it turns out. You need to be an infinite flow outward, not give and take, give and take, give and take. You can take your love away all day, but that just tells people you ain't trustworthy. And that's what I learned about that also. If you want to build trust, you got to be trustworthy, which means stick with it. Don't give up. When people get salty and you love them to death, even if it goes that way. And when they go that way, you stop and take a moment to love them there also. So we don't forget, we're not perfect, but we're working towards perfection, and it's perfect to love you. Even though I didn't know how, I do now. And I did that through spirit, meditation, being honest. Also, you can't do what I do and be a liar. You could be past tense, but you're not going to progress with us. You can't be honest with yourself and nurture yourself to fix yourself if you're lying to yourself or others at all, in any way possible. That, moving forward, moves backwards, forwards, goes nowhere. You might feel like you're going somewhere, but you're not. And that's what happens. So you get that out of the way and move forward with what you have, which is acceptance. You give that to each other. We're not perfect, but that is the perfect part of us, which is the part that sees perfection being done when it's done also. Give people space and time to heal. That is what we're doing today. It's not about how I feel. That is more of a knowing. What I feel is irrelevant to what's happening. We're healing either way. You gotta see the positive and crawl out of this dark space that has been a program. Bake in a loaf of bread, your mind, for dinner time somewhere where hopefully you're gonna get up and walk off that table before they eat you. Because that's a program, an idea. And that's what I said, don't let others' ideas, or even your own ideas, others' ideas, these ideas to program you any more than they already have. And we have to untrain that program in yourself to be separate. You take conception and separate conception from each conception to give conception its organized process, the algorithm in your own mind. So when you filter the world today, you do it with love. To give love, know that you give always. Don't worry about it not coming back to you the way you thought it should. Guess what? That's not your problem. You give your love away perfect. And like that, when you do that, others will begin to give it back to you perfectly also. That's when you need to be open to being cut down by others. You got to hear what they're hearing because it is for you. All information is good information. That's your information. On both sides of this conversation, everything is for all parties involved. That doesn't mean that every single situation sticks specifically, but what I've noticed is it may not hit the same picture, certainly sings the same note. So, like that, filtering life is easier to do when you work together to do that, because you care about the others doing that also. You care about everybody getting better. You care. You're the humanitarian in you. And you care about the human being, not what it was doing or where it's going, but the current status of that human being and what caused that status, caring enough to understand the status, what changes the status, and how to keep the status quo when we maintain our life like this. It's because we're not dying anymore. Also, we have the information we need to live longer, beautiful, more healthy lives. If this is a form of population control, I can see why they would do that, but that's their fear, not mine. We're smart enough to get off this rock also. We could go populate other worlds and bring life back to them. I suggest we do. Humans have that quality too. Anywhere humans go, life goes also. Till the day the last human is. And then outside of that, all that is recognizes that one little speck of what it is to be what it is, with what it is, and it's perfect. And each little speck is going to be perfect in its perfection when it's done like that, what it is, with us as we are that it is, when that section is finished, each little section has its perfect being. Then there's a being, the creator being, all that being is connected to all of that, seeing the relationship symbolically to itself and what that means to you deistically at the God level. Think bigger than you did. Don't do it with a goal. The goal isn't to have a goal. The goal is meeting the goal, which is at God's level. If you did that, you met your goal. You're done. Like this. Being done doesn't mean you're finished. Perfection is when perfection is. That is not for me to decide. Certainly, there are things I don't want to know. Keeps me humble. That doesn't mean I won't know them eventually. It just means right now, not a good time. And I know that. So, certain things I'm opting out of temporarily until we get to a point where I feel comfortable with that information. But we all have to be comfortable with that information. We're not going to do that if we lie to ourselves at all, in any way, shape, or form, about what's happening here. If you're not willing to listen to others cut you down, well, guaranteed the boot fits. You need to fix that. You need to be able to hear others when they cut you down, even if you don't agree with it. You might not agree with it, but guess what? That might be the part you needed to hear most. The part that pisses you off most is probably the truth. I mean, if it wasn't the truth, I guess it shouldn't piss you off. That doesn't mean that you don't get pissed off when people call you a liar because you know you didn't do it that way. That does happen from time to time also. Still, getting upset serves no one. So save your energy. Talk calmly. We're all going to practice. I'm doing it now. When I get animated, I get excited. You see me checking myself, that's because I got others checking me. And someone I love dearly. A good friend. A dear friend of mine. I love you. She knows who she is. Beyond that, us helping us is us helping my kids, helping your kids, helping the world today. And it is about our children. How do we want the world to look for them? Well, it needs to look good here first, always. I believe we have done that. I believe we are finally learning what it's like to be parents. And I apologize to my already almost what we call grown kids now for not being the parent I wanted to be when I had you. I'm happy to be the parent I think I should be because that makes you happy today, but I also need to hear you to know what makes you happy. And if anything makes me unhappy, it's not hearing your voices. So I've had to learn to deal with that also. And in your absence, it's been hard. I've had to understand things in ways that I didn't even know were possible. So has everyone else here. So like that, I'm not blaming you, not blaming others. The words are just for me. What I gave to you, if it is for you, good, because my connection at source says I am you also. So if it works for me, it works for you. And like that, if you're saying it to me, it's probably in you to change that also. And that's what I'm learning now. Not everything was mine to hear, but everything is mine to hear. And that's for us to learn from. Each piece has its place. When we all settle with the information and give up the old way, programmed, to make way for a new way, now not programmed, because we took time to really consider what it's like to not be pushed around by others' ideas, then those ideas will come to rest with you personally, where you can finally hear and feel and sense the God presence, Sumari, Agaredonsa Satori, whatever you want to call it, the I am being, that being, finally gets to do its work with you. It's doing that with me right now as I'm talking. And that's the relationship you're really building. That is a relationship with you, and that is you when you're done. You are the universe. Remembering how to be just that. From this experience is not you personally, but when you're done, everything that was learned here is part of you personally. And that being is God also. So with God, we will be as it is intended. Make yourself appropriately. That is your free will. I know it's painful, but you have to make your choices. That's the only way to know it's good. And life, will test you perfectly. Not me. Life. So while I'm giving everybody my love, it's because I want to that I do this. And I do. Sometimes I don't when I'm upset. But after a little while, I'm okay. I'm ready to try again. That's how we could be. Not necessarily how we should be, but how we could be and may be with each other. It'll be up to you how it should be, and I believe how it should be is being decided all the time. Just remember that how you think it should be is not how I think it should be, is not how it thinks it should be, and how it should be is just how it is. How it is acceptable. That has been forgiven, and that's just how it is. Your choices after that, while they have been forgiven, still need to be nurtured by your moral, ethical fibers to be the better person you know, honestly, we're talking to. And that's me I'm talking to personally. So again, my words for me alone. So I'll take that. All of this that I've said, for me alone. Awesome. I think that's enough for today. That and have a good day, because it is. It'll always have us. We're always here. I love you. Stay beautiful, because you are. If you don't believe that, those are the opinions that no longer serve you. Change it. That is a highly valuable suggestion in my book of Get Right. And I gave that book to myself. It's my book, personally. You can't sell it. It's right here. It's my heart, mind, body, and effort for this situation that we are all going through now. So to my kids, I love you. This is for you. Remembering what I'm going to do for you means building the world like I think it should be for us. Also, getting involved at every level. Now, education. That is worth it. If we're not learning something that needs to learn. Like that's you learning also. You need to learn. That's what we're here to do until we're done. Until we're done means you won't be until you know that also. If you don't know that, probably shouldn't say it's finished until it is. As far as God goes. Though it is finished, somewhere in here, we're in limbo with that finishing product. Now, to clean up what we have left and make do with what's best for you somehow. Building the world for these children, happening. Me being part of it, just now happening the way it should be. So that I apologize for. Better late than never. And right on time, because Divine had a purpose for that, perfectly. That wasn't mine. That says, you're always right on time where you are. You arrived. We're done. So the part that isn't finished is finished. And the part that isn't finished is finishing it now. And that's you and me, this experience. So it is finished, somewhere finished. The end, but also the beginning, finished. Eternal, just one. There is no beginning and end to that, which is the mystery solved. We're living that now. To what we call the end, but that's a perspective limited by depth, which is this experience. You don't want anything to limit you with your thoughts, so even depth has to go for you to get the source connection at that oneness level that gives you that energy to feel love, to give you the love that you need to give out infinitely and not be damaged by things around you. That is something you have to break away all conceptions to do. Something I did with life, breathing, meditation, calming down to consider my thoughts, and yes, a few extra helpers too. Some here, all here, but some visibly. To some of you, not all of you, but most of you are not. That is all here, and that's what I mean by the mystery has been solved. Everything is. But what is now is what you make of it. So be the creator I know you are. Do it with love. I'm sorry that this was so hard to hear if it was. That's something in you that needs to change in us all also. I'm glad you made it to the end of this video. Thanks for tagging along. I really appreciate everyone who watches me. More than you think. If you didn't think that I did, I do. I appreciate all of you because this allows me to talk to me. And the way it showed me that I am me is talking to you the same way I talk to me now also. Learning to hear myself with you now, talking to me the same way we talk to ourselves, that progress is worth it. That's perfect. So before we even get there, I already know we made it because we want to. And that's my divine will. I promise I want to. Nothing I want any more in this world than to love you perfectly. I believe today that's possible. So let's keep doing that. Keep learning from what we do.